There comes a moment quiet, still, sometimes uncomfortable when you look in the mirror and realize you're not looking at who you want to be. You're looking at who you settled for. You see someone who shrinks instead of steps forward. Someone who waits for permission, who doubts the light within. And it's in that moment you must ask yourself, who is this version of me? And why have I allowed them to lead? The truth is, we all carry an old self, a version of us built by fear, by trauma, by someone else's voice saying, you can't. That version learned how to protect, how to survive, how to stay small enough to avoid rejection. And maybe that served you once, but what protected you then is now what's preventing you. That old self is no longer the guardian, it's the jailer. You know this version. It's the one that talks you out of trying. That whispers, don't embarrass yourself. The one that shows up in front of a dream and says, not you, not now. It's the voice that chooses comfort over courage, approval over authenticity. It thrives in indecision. It feeds on comparison, and most dangerously of all, it sounds like you, but it's not your truth. Recognizing that version isn't about shame. It's about truth, telling. It's about holding a compassionate mirror and saying, I see you. I know where you came from, but you don't get to drive anymore. You have to call it out, the habits, the stories, the sabotages, all of it. You can't kill what you won't name, and you can't transcend what you refuse to see. That version of you loves comfort zones like they are kingdoms. It craves safety, not greatness, and it will keep your feet planted in fear, while your soul begs for movement. You'll know it's still in charge if your days feel familiar, but your spirit feels stuck. If your to-do list is full, but your heart is empty, if you've been busy surviving, but not really living, it's the version of you that negotiates with your potential. It says, just one more day like this, or maybe next year, or when things calm down. But you know what I know, things never just calm down. Life doesn't wait for your courage, and every day you spend listening to that weaker self is a day stolen from the higher one waiting to rise. You must get still enough to separate your voice from your wound. Because the wound will always want to protect you, and it sounds convincing. But your voice, your real, sacred, wild, whole voice, that one will lead you to life. But it can't lead if you don't first recognize who's been speaking all this time. There is a story being written about your life every single day. Not just the chapters people see, not just the ones you post or perform, but the real, raw manuscript of who you are becoming. And the question is, who's holding the pen? Because if you don't claim authorship over your own story, life will find someone else to write it for you. And they won't write it with your liberation in mind. For too long, many of us have lived in stories we didn't choose. Stories handed down through generations. Stories shaped by judgment, by systems, by silence. We internalized the voices that said, you're too much, or you're not enough. And then we repeated them so often, they became our soundtrack. But just because a story has been repeated doesn't make it true. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's yours to carry. You see, owning your narrative isn't about pretending the pain never happened. It's about refusing to let the pain edit your worth. Yes, the betrayal happened. Yes, the abandonment, the loss, the trauma, it left marks. But your story is not your wound. Your story is what you do with the wound. It's what rises after. It's the meaning you choose to make of the mess. And here's the truth: the world will always try to reduce you. It will try to put you in categories, boxes, and headlines. She's just a mom. He's too emotional. They're not smart enough. But you are not a headline. You are not a box. You are a full, living, breathing epic. A soul with chapters yet to be written, power yet to be claimed, brilliance yet to be expressed. When you own your narrative, you begin to write with intention, not apology. You stop asking for permission to be who you already are. You become the editor of what stays and what goes, The critic in your head, you rewrite her lines, the shame from the past, you decide it doesn't get a starring role anymore. You finally see that you are both the storyteller and the story. It also means rewriting how you see your past, because sometimes the story we tell is, I failed. But when you own it, you shift it, I learned. Sometimes we say, they left me. But when we take the pen back, I was redirected. The facts don't change, but your perspective does. And that shift in perspective, that's power, that's freedom. People will try to define you by the chapter they walked in on. But when you own your story, you stop letting temporary characters have permanent power. You begin to lead your life from within, not from the opinions of those outside the page. You begin to trust your own voice, not the one shaped by fear, but the one rooted in wisdom, the voice that whispers, keep going, you know who you are. There is a sacred responsibility in choosing to author your life. Not perfectly, not all at once, but with truth, with courage, with the deep knowing that every time you pick up the pen again, no matter what has come before, you are reclaiming the narrative that was always meant to be. Your growth is not graceful at first. It's gritty. It's messy. It's uncomfortable in a way that makes you want to run right back to what's familiar. But the truth about growth, the kind that transforms you, is that it comes wrapped in discomfort. It doesn't knock politely. It breaks through the walls you built to stay safe. And the pain you feel when that happens, that's not punishment. That's the stretching of who you were into who you're becoming. We've been taught to avoid pain, to numb it, to silence it, to hide it under busy schedules and surface smiles. But what if I told you that pain is not the enemy avoidance is? Pain is the messenger. It shows up to say, something has outgrown its space. Something within you is being called higher, and it cannot be born through comfort. It needs the friction. It needs the fire. It needs the space where breaking leads to breaking open. There are seasons where everything feels like it's falling apart. The friendships that fade, the job that ends, the dream that didn't manifest how you planned. And in those moments, it's tempting to think something is wrong with you. But maybe nothing is wrong. Maybe everything is shifting. Maybe the pain is not a sign of failure, but a signal of elevation. A necessary unrooting so something deeper, stronger, more aligned can take hold. Growth will ask you to let go of things you once thought you couldn't live without: habits, beliefs, people, identities. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to release what used to feel like home. But what served the old you cannot sustain the next you. Growth will not beg for your comfort. It will demand your surrender. And the more you resist, the more it hurts. The moment you lean in, the pain begins to teach. It teaches resilience. It teaches clarity. It teaches discernment, what to say yes to, what to walk away from, what no longer fits the version of you rising from the ashes. Pain reveals what needs healing. It shines a light on the places we still try to control, the fears we've left unspoken, the truth we've buried beneath convenience. And if you let it, it becomes the very soil from which strength grows. There is no shortcut through transformation, no fast-forward button, no perfect plan. It's trial, it's error. It's crying on the bathroom floor one night and standing in your power the next, and both moments are sacred. Because growth is not linear. It spirals, it stumbles, it repeats. But every step, no matter how wobbly, carves a deeper foundation for your becoming. What we forget is that pain is a form of labor. You are birthing something not out there, but in here. A new mindset, a new standard, a new relationship with yourself. And just like birth, it comes with contractions, with pressure, with moments where you question whether you can make it through. But inside that pressure, something is being shaped. Something is being formed. Something is being born that could not exist without this exact process. So when the pain comes, not if, but when, don't just ask, how do I make it stop? Ask, what is it trying to teach me? Because pain that is ignored becomes suffering, but pain that is faced becomes power. And that power is not found in avoiding the fire, but in learning how to walk through it with your head high and your heart open to who you were always meant to be. Words carry energy. Words shape reality. The words you speak over your life have the power to define your identity, not just who you are, but who you are becoming. And for too many of us, we've been speaking limitation into existence without even realizing it. I'm just not confident. I've always been like this. I can't change. Those aren't just phrases, those are contracts, and every time you say them, you sign your name at the bottom. What you declare about yourself creates your inner world. It programs your thoughts, directs your decisions, and carves your path forward. That's why if you want to kill that weaker version of yourself, you have to start speaking the truth of the stronger one even before you fully believe it. Especially before you believe it, because belief doesn't always come before the words. Sometimes it comes through them. There is power in naming yourself, not the name the world gave you, not the role someone else handed you. I'm talking about the name that reflects your purpose, your promise, your potential. The name that calls forward the boldest, truest, highest you. You have to start saying it out loud. I am capable. I am worthy. I am disciplined. I am becoming. Not someday. Not when everything's perfect. Right now. In the middle of your becoming, because if you keep speaking from your history, you will keep reliving it. But when you start speaking from your vision, you begin to step into it. You have to dare to tell a new story even if your voice trembles, even if your surroundings haven't caught up yet, even if the people around you still see you through the lens of who you used to be. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to align with the version of you that already knows. There's a version of you who has already survived what you thought would break you. There's a version who wakes up early, honors her word, protects his peace, follows through, walks in purpose. That version already exists. You just have to stop speaking from the shadow of your fear and start speaking from the light of your truth. Speak to her, speak to him. Speak like you already are. This doesn't mean you ignore where you are. It means you stop being loyal to the labels that keep you there. Stop repeating the language of your limitations. I'm just bad with money. I've always been inconsistent. I never follow through. That's the weaker version of you trying to survive. But you're not here to survive, you're here to rise. And to rise, you must speak words that match the altitude you're aiming for. You don't wait until you feel strong to declare your strength. You speak it until your soul catches up. You speak it until your habits start to align. You speak it even when it feels awkward or untrue, because you're not speaking to where you are. You're speaking to where you're going. And what you speak consistently, you start to embody. The tongue may be small, but it builds empires. It builds beliefs. It builds self-concept. So if you're going to build something with your words, build truth, build integrity, build vision. Build the identity that reflects not who you've been, but who you were always meant to be. When the fear no longer ran the show, the people you allow closest to you shape your life more than any goal, any job, any external circumstance ever could. Your inner circle, the voices you let in, the energies you entertain, the opinions you absorb, they form the ecosystem of your soul. And if that ecosystem is filled with judgment, fear, envy, or apathy, it doesn't matter how much you want to grow, you'll always be swimming against the current. Too many of us confuse longevity with loyalty. We keep people close because we've known them for years, because they were there when we were struggling, because we're afraid of what they'll say if we grow past them. But time served does not equal soul alignment, and not everyone who started with you is meant to go with you. Some people were only meant to walk you to the gate, not enter the next room. There are people who secretly root for your stagnation because your growth would require them to confront their own stillness. You know who they are. They make subtle comments. They minimize your progress. They call your dreams too much. And every time you share a piece of your vision with them, you walk away feeling smaller instead of stronger. That's not support. That's sabotage dressed up in shared history. Protecting your inner circle means being intentional, not just about who has access to your presence, but who has access to your spirit. Not everyone gets to know your next move. Not everyone has earned the right to witness your transformation. You don't owe anyone front row seats to a journey they don't respect. You get to curate your space like your peace depends on it, because it does. You need people who fan your fire, not smother it. People who tell you the truth, but from love, not insecurity. People who clap for you when you win, not because they want something from you, but because your success inspires them, not threatens them. Those are the ones you keep close. Those are the voices you anchor to when doubt starts creeping in. It's also about checking yourself. Are you being the kind of person someone would want in their inner circle? Are you adding light or pulling shadows? Because you attract who you are, not who you wish to be. Your own integrity, your own consistency, your own energy, they send out a signal. So do the work to be the kind of friend, partner, mentor, or mirror you're seeking in others. There's a cost to keeping the wrong people close. It's subtle at first. You start dimming your light a little. You filter your words, you second. Guess your excitement. You start shrinking just to make others comfortable. And before you know it, you're not just protecting your peace, you're protecting other people's comfort at the expense of your calling. That's the moment you know something has to change. Your circle doesn't have to be big, it has to be aligned. You don't need more voices. You need the right ones. The ones who remind you who you are when you forget. The ones who hold you accountable, who pray over your name in rooms you're not in, who celebrate your elevation because they see it as evidence of what's possible for them too. There comes a time in your journey where wanting is not enough. Wishing is not enough. Even believing is not enough. The only thing that will carry you through the resistance, the obstacles, the seasons of doubt is commitment, not halfway, not when it's convenient. Not just on the days when motivation is high and distractions are low. I'm talking about full, sacred, non-negotiable commitment to who you're becoming. People talk about purpose like it's a hobby, like it's optional. But your purpose is not something extra you sprinkle on top of your life. It is your life. And when you realize that, you stop playing with your potential. You stop flirting with growth. You stop entertaining every shiny thing that pulls you away from the path you know you're meant to be walking. Because the stakes are too high to keep treating your calling like a casual thing. Commitment is a decision you make over and over again long after the excitement wears off. It's the alarm that goes off at 5 a.m. It's the no you say to distractions. It's the quiet moment when no one is watching and you still show up anyway. It's not loud or flashy. It doesn't always feel inspiring, but it is honest, it is earned. And it builds something inside of you that no shortcut ever could. You don't need more motivation, you need discipline. You don't need another plan, you need to honor the one you already have. You don't need everyone to understand, you need to stop explaining and start executing. The life you want is not waiting on more clarity, it's waiting on more consistency. The version of you you're chasing is already out there, she's just waiting for you to mean it this time. And yes, it will be hard. It will test every part of you. The path of commitment is narrow for a reason. It filters out the wishers from the walkers. You will be tempted to quit. You will feel like nothing is happening. You will wonder if it's even worth it. But in those exact moments, when it feels like you're planting seeds in dry soil, that is where the transformation is happening. That is where you become the kind of person who follows through. There is something sacred about keeping your word to yourself. It builds a kind of self-trust no one can take away from you. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the truth. I am someone who shows up, not for perfection, not for applause, but because the life I'm building matters. Because I made a promise to the highest version of me, and I intend to keep it. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step, but you do need to take the step, and then the next, and then the next. You've waited long enough, you've doubted long enough. There is no better time, there is no perfect moment. There is only the decision to begin and the discipline to continue. Every excuse is just a softer word for fear. And fear doesn't get to run this story anymore. You've tried halfway. You've tried dabbling. You've tried pushing your dreams to the edge of your schedule, hoping they'd somehow rise without your full attention. But deep down you know you were never meant to live a watered-down version of your calling. You know this requires more of you than you've been giving. And you also know, if you're honest, that you're ready now to give it 4 of